Hello, everybody, and welcome to Untether.tv. This is that place you come to day after day, week after week, year after year to hear these stories of entrepreneurs that are tackling the biggest challenges in the mobile industry, how they're doing it, what they're doing, and how it impacts you. And I can't tell you how excited I am. Again, another Ottawa company. We talk about mobile as focal points in some of these big cities like New York City, like Austin, Texas, like Silicon Valley. But you can never forget about Ottawa. Ottawa has a nascent mobile industry, and I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it because we've got not only software developers, we've actually got hardware developers here, Rima, and we've also got infrastructure guys, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. The cloud. How does the cloud impact mobile? Why is the cloud so important to mobile? How do you, as anybody, embrace the cloud as part of your mobile application development or as part of your life even? We're going to have all of these questions and many more, obviously, answered by Josh Vautour, who is the founder and the CEO of a company called AirVM. Josh, first of all, Ottawa, man, thank you so much. I love having Ottawa folks onto the show. Welcome to Untether.tv. Thanks for sharing your story, man.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me here, Rob. I appreciate it.
Well, it's pride, right? Not only Canadian pride, but Ottawa pride when I can actually feature somebody from the city here. Why don't you tell everybody what AirVM does? We'll just start there.
Absolutely. We do cloud. We can start that way. But
done. Closed.
Done. That's it.
That's the best line ever. I build it up like that. It takes me 20 minutes to build it up, and you just say, "Hey, look, Rob, I do cloud." All right.
We're an infrastructure as a service provider. Obviously, we're based here in Ottawa. We're local homegrown company. My roots. All the guys that have contributed to this company. We all started our careers here. We've got a lot of foundation here. We're trying to bring a new take on cloud. We're enhancing the user experience. We're following a traditional server model, something that everybody else can already understand to help with the on-ramp to the cloud. So we're definitely working at making the transition to the cloud as easy as possible. We're doing it all based on the industry-leading virtualization solution, which is VMware. So
sweet VMware.
This is exactly what it is. This is AirVM in a nutshell. Usability, performance, and production workload, all with a business and server model that customers already understand today.
Well, it's funny because people talk about the cloud as just isn't that the networked PC, right? It's like a dumb terminal, and someplace out there in the ether is all the information, all the computation power, all the information, all the storage, everything else like that, all the cooling systems. Is that how you define the cloud?
The cloud is different. How you define cloud? Is it a PC in a data center? It's a lot more than that. A cloud it's so early and still so undefined. It's almost at the provider's discretion. One person's cloud is not another person's. That was the biggest challenge getting into this is, well, so what is our cloud really going to be? And a lot of it is elasticity, high availability, redundancies, reducing points of failure, and the mobility of it.
Yeah.
The ability for it to move wherever you go. And a lot of that is leveraging the infrastructure of the internet and or infrastructure of the networks that we have in place. That's what really enables cloud, moving between data centers or just serving the world as a whole.
Well, what about what was it about this space? The cloud space, that in the virtualization space, that made you want to get into it. Everybody talks about this space, and it's very crowded. There are a lot of big players in this. A lot of companies are moving in this direction. We had a chat just before we went live, and a lot of the companies that I've dealt with in the past, a number of years ago, were moving in this direction, and now it just seems to accelerate. But what was it for you that you said, "Listen, this is the space I want to be in"? What's in your past that led you here?
Well, I'm a software and an infrastructure guy. I started off way back in software, moved into infrastructure probably about 10 years ago, and I've been working with VMware since before VMware, before EMC bought them. So, I was running VMware for test dev environments and virtualizing infrastructure for, almost 8 years now. Mm-hmm. In a business environment. So it's been a long time coming that I've seen the advantages of the virtualization, the low footprint. The biggest thing that I've seen, I think, is how far technology has come to enable it. And then you've had VMware, which has matured enough to be able to handle a production workload. It's the mesh of the hardware being at a level where we can split it up and have it doing 65 different workloads, and we have the appropriate foundation to actually let that happen safe, secure, and reliable. That's what I saw that coming. We saw that, as hardware continued to evolve, economy, obviously what people are looking for is price. They want to do more with less.
Yeah. So it's like the mantra of this entire century so far, isn't it? Do more with less.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to me, that's a lot of what cloud and virtualization enables. So the idea is, I saw that, I saw it coming, decided, hey, listen, how can we do this? There's people doing it, there's giants doing this already. Yeah. But what are the problems that these people are having? What are the problems that customers are going to have working with them? And we took that, went to the drawing board and came up with a solution that addressed as many of those problems as we could.
And it's funny because you said at the beginning that every person's cloud is different. It's like a snowflake, right?
Absolutely.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I just look outside and there's snow everywhere now. But this is an important time really for the cloud, simply because I kept on thinking of this as a way to, we always looked at VMware in the cloud as an infrastructure play, as a way to reduce the footprint of data centers, right? So you had, instead of having like thousands of racks of PCs, or servers, you have a virtualization software that allowed you, basically hardware-based and software-based, to be able to create a server farm, with a smaller footprint, smaller consumption of power, and all those kind of things. It really is we always just thought of that as a stationary piece. But there's a convergence that happened over the last couple of years. When you talk about mobile, you talk about enough bandwidth or available bandwidth in the air so that we can actually leverage this. You talk about the cost coming down quite considerably, and you talk about the smartphone revolution that has happened, where people want to carry their stuff with them wherever they go. Is this the perfect storm for you guys? Is this just the greatest timing you could ever imagine?
It's fantastic, and a good chunk of it has to do with mobile. Mobile, it's mobile, but mobile is almost is what's driving the shift in users. It's the generation that's coming up today that is mobile aware, that is mobile connected. That's what they are. They are mobile. So it's going to translate not just into their smartphones, but everything is going to become mobile. And that's the generation. They don't know anything else. They don't know the traditional model. You take an 18-year-old graduate today that comes out of university or comes out of high school and starts, getting into a job and, worry about, profiles being stuck and you not being able to do stuff and limited to certain types of hardware or interfaces, and it's foreign to them.
Yeah. Right.
They're so used to being able to do what they want, where they want, however they want, anywhere, anytime.
So obviously, I think we've just answered the question that the cloud, being as central as it is to mobile, very, very, very important to enabling this. But is this a new phenomenon? Mobile in North America, I say this tongue in cheek, but it kind of caught us by surprise. Compared to, because we watched it happening in the Far East, we watched it happening in Asia, and we watched it happening, and then we knew it was coming, and then all of a sudden it was here. But they don't seem to enable the cloud, or they don't call it the cloud, as much as what we've done in North America. Is that true?
That's what it is. We're a little behind the times in terms of mobile, versus the third world countries.
Yeah, developing nations. Totally agree.
Which is crazy, but it is, right. We've got all of our old legacy copper infrastructure that's our that's what's holding us back, we'll say. But we're behind on that. But what we're doing with mobile and cloud and what we're enabling with it is astronomical. It's just off the grid, and I don't think that was being done everywhere else because the technology wasn't there, the user interfaces weren't there to enable the mobile, and then at the same time, the cloud, the virtualization, that the bandwidth, the pipe, the other infrastructure required to provide that type of service just didn't exist.
Well,
it's the maturity of the market and all of the services around it.
But it happened almost simultaneously, didn't it?
Perfect storm.
Like, I mean, that's what always strikes me is that, you know, you could stumble forward a long time in this. And if, you know, you've been doing this for a long time, but 8 years ago or 7 years ago or 6 years ago or 5 years ago, had you decided to do this, you would be kind of crawling along trying to convince people that this was somewhere you had to go. But you open and it's like, listen, as you said before we started, you kind of open and you've had customers since the day that you opened, the day that you started this company. So yeah. that to me means that there was already an awareness and acceptance that, listen, somehow we need this. We need to bring this in. And do you see that, are your customers embracing the mobile side yet? Or is it still traditional server-based?
Both.
Okay, so you're seeing you're seeing adoption on the mobile side?
Yeah, we're seeing it all over the place. We're seeing an absolute massive amount of movement to it in all different types of areas. And
like what? Like, give me an example of something that's going on right now that you think, listen, you know, these guys get it. It's a great combination of you know, a mobile play with a cloud that brings it all together. You don't have to name names of your clients, but is there something that you've seen that you said, wow, God, I love this? Give a good example.
Again, we've got people that are using, we'll just say for you know, video conferencing software, you know, cloud-enabled video conferencing, mobile-enabled, you know, video, two-way video. An example would be like a Skype video on a mobile device.
Yeah.
Something similar to, I've seen that in our cloud. You know, that's a very good example where they're leveraging the fact that they don't need to have tons of bandwidth and tons of server compute power, and they can spike on demand. So you look at a solution like that, very, very similar. It's a good application of what I've seen move to the cloud. Yep. You know, and then I've seen on the flip side, a ton of traditional servers saying, hey, listen, you know, new projects, hardware refresh. Let's look at the alternatives that are more, you know, cost effective.
It's a really good point there about it's an interesting point about bringing new projects online, especially in the mobile space. I see this all the time with the companies that I deal with and sit down and talk to, is that you know, a lot of companies are stuck in their old legacy systems, right? So they've got whatever they were using before, which is certainly not compatible with what they need to be able to do today. So they go to a cloud provider that enables this, so they can get their mobile projects off the ground. Do you see companies coming to you saying, "Look, I don't even want to bother with my IT team. I want to come direct, and I want to build with the latest technologies." That's obviously got to be a play for you.
It does. Yeah, it does factor into it. And you get a lot of people that almost look at us as part of their IT team.
Oh, nice.
Again, you're still going to have, we're an infrastructure as a service provider. So we're a little more hands-off than say like a managed service company.
Yeah.
Again, so we're replacing a portion of the IT team. But we have people that have that relationship with us where they rely on us as though we're part of the department. You know, that's where they're procuring, you know, they use us for procuring new infrastructure, and they definitely do. And a lot of it, the biggest thing, this is where we really see it, is that a limiting factor for companies, especially, you know, small, medium enterprises that want to start a new project or have a great idea, you know, say, listen, we need to do this. You know, you take that back and you have a meeting with your board and you say, listen, this is what we want to do. And then you get your IT, you know, your CTO that says, how are we going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Right? No problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's contract-free, low cost, grows as fast as you need it to. This is where this is the type of projects, and this is where it's you get companies that are moving into the mobile space and with these revolutionary ideas, and they're coming on board in landslides because the cost to get off the ground now is a fraction of what it used to be.
That's amazing, right? When you start to think about the infrastructure that was needed 10 years ago, just 10 short years ago in technology. It might seem like 100 years ago, but companies were spending millions of dollars on their own infrastructure. And We almost looked at that, and certainly investors looked at that as a way to protect your intellectual property. The more servers you had, the more powerful you were, the bigger footprint you had, the more money you were worth. Today, an idea can be started quite literally. I interviewed a company called Zarly. They came up with the idea on a Friday and were funded by Sunday night by Ashton Kutcher, and had quit their jobs by Tuesday evening. And it's all built on the cloud. It's a mobile application built on the cloud because it's readily available. All it needs is basically an idea.
That's it. It's ready to go.
So, you think about this over a period of time, and there's got to be, like, we've heard of the cloud forever, right? Like, I've been in tech for a long time. You've been in tech for a long time. Everybody out there, put up your hands if you haven't heard of the cloud. Exactly. No. So now the question is, what are some of the impediments that you're bumping into, or maybe I rephrase that is not so much an impediment, but how do people embrace this? I mean, how do they get their feet wet? How do they build it? How do they bring this into their mobile application? Are there apps that are better suited? Is there a mobile play that's better suited than others?
Again, that's going to depend on your requirements as a business. It's kind of like that whole, every cloud is a snowflake, where it's...
You can use that, by the way. AirVM. Yeah. Every cloud is a snowflake.
See, for us, you can build your own cloud with us, right? That's we don't limit you. There's not, you're not tied into certain limitations or requirements. You build it as a company. But in terms of what impedes people from moving to the cloud, I think a lot of it is still fear. That, to be honest with you, people are, we're just getting past early adopters, really. Like, that's where we are. The mainstream hasn't come in yet. It's starting to, but the floodgates are just starting to open. So I think a lot of that is the fact that it doesn't have that market tested, endurance. It hasn't been around for 17 years. But a lot of people, again, you have a lot of legacy ideas and business practices within organizations that is going to definitely slow down the on-ramp to the cloud.
Yeah. But what's it going to take to move people into the cloud?
It's like any new technology. It's going to take more people on it, which is happening. The migration has started, but it's going to be exponential. The more that come on, the more people are going to be comfortable with it, and the faster it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to start with a shovel today. Tomorrow you're going to need a dump truck. Next week you're going to be landfilling a whole city. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Do you see that this combination of mobile, which is very important, and we know that. Everybody's carrying these devices, and the battle goes on right now. It's funny because people buy iPhones and Blackberries and even tablets with a certain amount of prescribed hardware space, right? 16 gigs, 32 gigs, 64 gigs, and they put a premium on the cost of those, right? So it's $800 for a 32 or 64 gig iPhone, and do you see those days being relegated to the dead pool at some point, where it's just your devices that you're carrying are back to that window to a server? Is that going to happen?
It's unbelievable. It's going to be. They're going to be your mobile devices eventually are going to become nothing more than terminals for your cloud
life.
Everything. That's just it. It's your experience, and the best part about what cloud is enabling for mobile and what mobile is bringing to all of us is that it's going to be device independent, location independent. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It's going to be how much iCloud space do you have. That's what it's going to matter, because again. Now, infrastructure, that's where that's slowing down a little bit. You look at, some of the, from the mobile or wireless providers, your 3G and your 4G stuff, that's where you're coming into limitations here today. And that's where we, as North America, are actually a little behind the curve.
In high-speed wireless networks.
Exactly. And the service that we're delivering is more premium and more feature-filled, but our limitations on the network and the infrastructure is behind. And, again, you're going to see the cloud stuff and the mobile application delivery, the mobile life and the mobile environment. Once it starts moving to a lot of the other places, I think we'll fall behind the curve again.
Nice. Well, I mean, they're testing true 4G and LTE, but you're right. I mean, there are some limitations what you've got here, because at home, for the most part, in North America, we have access to high speed or broadband to the house, and I think that's the greatest thing that and the greatest limitations. We focused on stationary internet connectivity rather than that mobile infrastructure like the rest of the world did, because they don't have the infrastructure we had to bring cable and phone to our homes, right?
So the one that pushed that infrastructure that pushed us ahead just really holds it back now.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, it's like sacrificing tomorrow for today, and that's what we kind of did. But I have high-speed cable at home, but I can't take it anywhere.
No,
right?
And even then, you look at the high-speed cable that we have, and because of how when it was developed and when it was put in, you look at any of the countries now that are bringing even stuff tethered into blocks. Look at Japan, for instance. You're getting 100 meg plus connections to your house. None of this. Oh, what do you have? 5 meg service or 10 meg service? They had 100 meg service over 5 years ago to the home.
It's crazy.
So you look at.
And look, they're not paying Rogers $77 a month.
No,
No.
That's just it, right? It's unbelievable that, again, we're seeing it now because a lot of the mobile and even the stationary infrastructure, because we can piggyback on a lot of that as long as you're cloud-based. Cloud is what's going to help us leverage the stationary to the mobile, because we're going to let it be portable rather than delivering you internet in one spot. So you're going to be able to go with you and take whatever you want to wherever you want and use it anytime you want because of the cloud. So the cloud is going to help us kind of put a little bit of a Band-Aid on our existing infrastructure and kind of make it appear a little more mobile.
What about,
we're going to virtualize it.
I think of RIM as really the first cloud company. I mean, the way that they did it with the biz and the bez and the infrastructure that they built, everybody knows that the challenges that RIM is going through, and hopefully, if you're watching this in a number of years down the road, you actually still know who RIM is, and that means that's a good thing for Canada. They're a very important technology company in the country, and I think around the world. But they built really the first cloud infrastructure, right? Where their big selling point was, listen, there isn't a lot of data out there, and we have these honking data centers that are going to bring everything in and compress it before it goes out, so it lessens the load on the network, it speeds things up, it encrypts it, it does all those kind of things. Were they really that first? Were they ahead of everybody, or because everybody thinks they're so far behind?
Again, they were. They were definitely ahead of their time. I would have to agree.
Yeah.
There was other companies that were offering similar type of services, maybe not with just mobile. I would say they were pioneering it with mobile.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So in the mobile space, which is where everything is going, absolutely. There's been a lot of, on the higher level on the business side, there have been some other companies. I know, IBM, for example, was big pioneer on their ASP stuff, their application service provider, their hosted stuff, which is very similar. Say, listen, leverage our big monster honking data centers. Big enterprises can get some pipe in, so we can, you can just run terminals on your end, and we can host all your stuff for you. Yeah. So it has been. These are, to me, these are the ideas of kind of where this cloud, the outsourced, infrastructure as a service really came from. But, especially in the mobile space, RIM was revolutionary because they were the first ones really to bring it to the mobile platform, especially, at least around here in North America.
Well, yeah, they had to walk around limitations, network speed, hardware capabilities, like the CPUs that they were working on were not dual-core processors that they are today. The browsing experience just wasn't there, but they were better than the WAP experiences you're getting on the feature phone. What about things like, I remember in the early days of e-commerce, certainly on the web, those very first few breaches that happened, right? Where ESPN had a breach early on in its life, where 2.5 or 25,000 or 250,000. I can't remember. It was a pretty staggering number back then. Credit cards were compromised with one breach. What has anything like that happened with a cloud? And like something's bound to happen. Do you think that it's going to have an impact and stunt it or stall the growth? Not with you guys. What I'm saying is like just like as an industry.
Man, you look at an example of a massive breach. Look at the PlayStation Network.
Oh yeah,
that's their own private cloud, right? That's exactly what that was, and that was a staggering number.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Millions, credit card, home address, email address, like personal information. I was on that list. There's I think probably every person in our company was on that list. It was staggering the amount of people that were compromised in that. And I still have a PSN account. It's
because they gave them away for free right after that.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. But on the business side of things, it's different. It's
yeah, like Josh,
there's a risk to doing business online, and you have to have, it's a trust that you need to have with your vendor or your service provider. So ultimately it's less a cloud play, but more, it's going to be, on the mobile side, it's going to be your mobile application vendor. So it's about making sure you do some research on who you're doing business with. I think more than the cloud itself.
If you think about it's one thing to have a cloud breach like this, and you're right. Out in the open space, there are people that are attacking it. It's another thing though, when you as a company have put your eggs in the cloud, and people are accessing it all through one of these or a tablet. And this falls into the hands of the wrong person, right? Typically, that's where the breach happens, isn't it? It's like I've written the password and I've stuck it on the back of my phone, or I leave my phone at a Starbucks, right, without any security.
Most exploits can be traced back to user problems, right? In terms of like data leaks.
Stupid humans. Absolutely. If we get rid of them,
if we got rid of all the humans and put the robots in front of the robots, we would be safe.
Yes. That's exactly it. New business model.
Hook us up to some cables and use us like batteries.
Exactly. I think I've seen a movie like this, but I love it. I love it. All right, I got to ask about where this is going, the disruption that's about to happen as a result of cloud. You mentioned iCloud. Obviously, Apple's play into this. It's not only is it photo syncing, it's music syncing, it's app syncing, it's document syncing, it's all those kind of things, right? Through the cloud, stored off your computer, connected to multiple devices. That's a simple thing, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's not simple to implement.
No.
But it's like the base fundamental. People are talking about that today. Go ahead.
See, this is what it is. iCloud, yes, but Apple, they kind of cheat you. Like they're doing what RIM did. Your data is stored in the cloud and your pictures and your calendar and stuff, but they know that people can't access that content real time. So what they do is they actually in the background, they then redistribute it out to your other iCloud enabled devices.
So it goes up. And it's not real time, and then it gets distributed.
But that's how you get it on the other devices.
Right.
It's less like if you take some new pictures, when you're looking at your pictures on another device, if it hasn't had time to upload, process, and then redistribute, it's not there.
Yeah.
See, but again, they're pioneering because they know that we don't have 100 meg connections to all of our mobile phones.
They're compensating.
They're doing the RIM, right? Yeah. It's like, when they brought it in, they're leveraging it, compressing it. They're working within their limitations. They're being smart about it. It's a great play.
Yeah. Well, it's like the swipe animation on the iPhone, right? The reason it's so smooth is because it's not an animation. It's a graphic, right? So it's like they do it very effectively. But when you start to talk about the simplicity or the base product, which is that, I would say that the cloud is that, and every application, pretty much in any app store, if it's for example a to-do app, or if it's a document app, or if it's something of significance, there's Dropbox integration or Drop or Box.net integration or any other cloud integration, and I think that's at the low level. That's what that is. It's like storage outside of your desktop. But when you kind of gaze, Josh, when you kind of look into the future and you think, okay, what is fertile ground for the cloud to disrupt? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind? You said, you know what, there was talk of when movies went digital. Listen, they're not going to be stored locally. They're going to be stored in the cloud. Television shows through iTunes and on demand stored in the cloud. What is it that's cloud? The cloud is going to kill, maim, destroy.
Cloud is going to kill the traditional personal computing client server type of model that you have for anything. Like I said, what I think cloud is going to enable when the infrastructure has come up to speed with a lot of it,
yep,
is your entire experience is going to be in the cloud, like truly in the cloud. It's going to be real time. You're going to, and we're going to be connected beyond any way that we even imagine now.
So true.
And that's just it. People are like, oh, well, my phone has a GPS on it. Now people can check where I am. That's, again, and that's for people like maybe you and I, that's a little foreign. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And my kids, they're going to know that everywhere they go, I can watch the little steps on the screen, right? Like, again, they'll find different ways around that. But you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be able to embrace that. And what that's going to bring to us is a whole different slew of how we interact with businesses, other people, sports, everything. It's going to change. It's going to change everything. It's going to be a game changer. Product-wise, lifestyle-wise, your house is going to interact with you. You're going to go to other people's houses. It's going to interact with you. Everything about our lifestyles are going to become portable and movable.
I love the enthusiasm. Like I get excited just like you do about this because when I start to think about the cloud and I start to think a lot about data collection, because I think that points of interest in data are worth more than traditional currency, I would say, and maybe I'm wrong here. Call me crazy if you will, but the devices that we carry, we're forming a mesh network around the planet. Right? We are forming this where there's a constant interaction between my device and services like iCloud or whatever it is that I'm going to use to manage this device and back it up. Same thing with my desktop at home and my servers at home and my kids' tablets and iPhones and everything like that. It all kind of goes up. And then you compound that with everybody out there driving around. You compound that with every car out there with OnStar or Ford Sync. And that data is just like, there's no endpoint. And that endpoint is in the cloud. And it's creating this mesh of cloud-connected everything across the planet. And the idea that you can extract data, the idea that I can share anything with anybody at any point in time, and context changes on my device or wherever I am based on my location, it's pretty powerful what we're talking about here. And like when you start to think about what it can be, my mind starts to overheat.
Oh, it's crazy. And I think one of the biggest, I think security is going to be the biggest roadblock in terms of getting there. People are concerned already about having sensitive data on there. I think once someone finally comes up with the real end game secure single sign-on authority, be it however that's done, there's all kinds of people working on that, because that's really what it is. When you look at this big mobile lifestyle and workplace, is how do you, it's just kind of all free floating. How do you bring everything back to you? How do you point all the different services back to one entity and make it all work together and stuff?
But it's
what's that?
I start to think about services that run in the back, like back in the day, I used to run a cron job, right? Which would be like at 3 a.m. run this script, do this, and then go back to sleep till tomorrow at 3 a.m. Right? And I start to think about that was all locally done, right? Where you had to have an application running on a computer and it would power it. But now I start to think about the cloud as the always-on cron job, right? Which is basically my security system at home is plugged in. I don't even know that it's functioning until I get something on my device that says, "Hey, intruder, here's a picture," or "Here's a picture of your kid coming home, making sure that they made it home on time," or "Here's your alarm going on." You know, it's that cron job in the cloud. Wow, I got like I've got Snowflake. Every cloud is like a snowflake, and the cron job in the cloud. But so when you start to think about those things, that's really the power. It's always on computing. But if I said to you, hard drives, do they exist at some point in the near future, in our lifetime? Do they stop functioning? Do they stop? Is there a necessity for my devices at home to have hard drives?
Your devices at home? Maybe not. Hard drives still a necessity. Clearly, data needs to be stored somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, will that evolve to something beyond what we understand now, or what we look as a technology now? It's entirely possible. I
mean, my iPad.
It's a problem. The amount of data that is being produced and we're storing now is just, you don't even want to think about that. That's a number and a problem you don't want to think about, because it is exceeding, the amount of data we produce 10 years from now is going to far exceed the amount of storage space we can produce.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to look at alternate solutions of how to store that data. But
I always worry about it. I mean, I mean, if you could see it right here, I just have CDs of backups right here, and it's like, well, what happens if my house catches on fire? I mean, all that effort to back it all up. But when you think about that, do you think of like, especially on these devices, right? iPads, iPhones. I don't have a lot of storage. Specifically on my iPad, I don't keep anything locally. It's all stored up either on Dropbox or Box.net or through iCloud. Not even through iCloud. It's Dropbox for me. And when you start to think about these things, is it this is the device of the future, right? Where it's a screen that accesses my data.
It's a terminal.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're moving to.
What about viruses? Like, does this eliminate viruses? If everything's stored in the cloud? Like, does it kind of disrupt that?
It definitely impacts. You're going to get more business-focused attacks, right? People looking to take down cloud services and cloud server providers.
Yeah.
People trying to take down Google Apps, or you're going to get more focus on that, or people literally trying to take out the infrastructure that things run on, network, bandwidth, whatever it may be, whatever, physical, wireless. That's what you're going to get people going after. But yeah, from an end user perspective, if you're just everything's becoming mobile and portable and web based or terminal based, there's very little room to get viruses and stuff in there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the full shift, right? That's happening.
Have you done or saw anything about Chrome OS?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've played around with it, certainly on a little Chrome PC. It's a first. Again, that's a leading edge on what we're talking about. Yeah. Precisely, right? It's terminal independent, goes with you, uses your single sign-on. Everything you have is there. It's downloaded. It's running. It's there. Yeah.
That's what it is. Again, it's limited. It's basic, but it's it's in its infancy, but it's there. They're doing it. They're pioneering it.
So do you see? Last question about this. I mean, the future. Do you see that point where? It's multiple screens in my house, but it's controlled by one entity. Data could be located in my own personal cloud, stored in my basement, or it could be located up in somebody else's cloud, yours, Amazon's, wherever it is. But then when I step outside of my house, it follows me to my car, and then when I step out from my car to my office, it follows me with my office, and it's just the pieces, the snippets of data that I need for each one of those experiences. Like at home, I might have my full suite of music and videos and everything else that I need. But when I get to the office, it kind of shifts. Right? Because I saw this at GigaOM Mobilize in the fall, where they talked about having VM on the device, like a virtual machine on the device, right? So a boot up mode at work and a boot up mode at play. And I thought, well, I don't want that on the hardware. It's got to be a painful battery drain. Just put that up there, and then know where I am in context and give me the right stuff. Absolutely. The data though, isn't actually moving with you. No. The data is always somewhere. I'm moving. It's
an activity-driven or location-driven experience. Yeah. And that's where things are moving. You're gonna run the same application connected to the same data sources in your car, at work, at home, but it's going to be presented to you in a more appropriate fashion.
Yeah. Like, don't text
it has to live.
Yeah.
It has to live somewhere, though, right? Obviously, that data has to live somewhere, and we're going to get to the point where, again, it falls back to the infrastructure, right? It's maybe you can live at home. Maybe, again, when home infrastructure or wireless infrastructure is where it needs to be, maybe you can stream your entire Blu-ray collection one after the other from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But maybe. Now you can't. I'm just saying, or, if people start making the shift before that, the option is it's okay. You can't store that at home and use it anywhere, but you can use iCloud version 4, which actually lets you do that. Or I'm just using iCloud as an example, Amazon, AirVM, whatever it may be. But it's going to become a global type of infrastructure. It's different. It's not going to be the infrastructure that we understand now. It's going to be, you're going to subscribe to a service, like your life. So you're going to subscribe to a life service.
It's like Hydro.
It's going to be life service providers out there that they basically can run everything for you, and you just get. And they say, here's a list of compatible interface and terminals that we have. We support cars, we support phones, TVs, refrigerators, stoves, office desktops. And that's what it's going to be. You subscribe to that.
I love it. I think it's so cool. I can't. Like, it kind of blows my mind because we're as you said, we're at that first stage. I mean, so when you go, when a company comes to you and it says, listen, I get this mobile thing that I'm trying to build. I mean, for companies that are interested in moving mobile into the cloud, is there a piece of advice you can give to somebody that just says, start here? Like, what's the first thing that they should be doing when they want to look at the cloud?
First thing you need to say, what do you need? Again, and it's a tough part, but the idea is you have to look at your cloud. So the biggest thing is the right cloud service provider. Do you need a platform as a service? Do you need a software as a service? Do you need an infrastructure as a service? Once you can answer that question, you can probably have the right decision to where you need to start in 5 minutes. That's the biggest one. You need to figure out what your requirements are. Do I need something high availability? Do I need high performance? Do I need high capacity? But the idea is you need to have a good understanding of your requirements.
Yep.
And the cloud will be your best friend.
The cloud will be your best friend.
It will. Because if you understand your requirements, it's going to be very easy to find a solution that meets it. And there's solutions out there that will meet almost everyone's requirements. And it's going to be leaps and bounds ahead of something that most people can build themselves. And half the price.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's driving people right now is that they're, especially for companies that are looking to start new projects. So where can people, you can help them with this, obviously. Where can people find out about your service and information about your company?
Oh, absolutely. You can just go to our website has tons of information on what it does. You can go to airvm.com, click on the big green configure button up in the corner, and you're ready to rock and roll. It's that simple. It's easier to order a cloud, like an infrastructure as a service, than it is to order a new laptop from Apple.
Nice. There you go. So, and you should test it. And if you want to test it, you can have my shipping address to order that laptop. You get the VM, I'll get the laptop. Nice. Well, Josh, listen, I really appreciate this. I'm definitely interested in having you back on to talk about a little bit more, a deeper engagement when we think that the time is right around how, okay, listen, step one, start this if you're looking at a mobile application. Try to figure out how to bring this into it. Where can you actually leverage the cloud? Where could you not, where should you and should you not leverage the cloud in your application development or your mobile website? Try to figure out how to do this a little bit more so that it's very practical to help get people into the cloud and understand what the impact that the cloud is going to have on their mobile space. And certainly if you guys are out there looking at trying to figure out how to start leveraging mobile and leveraging the cloud, this is a really great way to do it. Burstable access, burstable bandwidth, burstable everything, computing power, and no limitations right now, which is what I honestly believe this is, that if you're looking at your IT team and they're saying no you can't do it because of this, which is our infrastructure, you've got to step out of there because you're missing an opportunity that should not be missed, and especially around mobile and the cloud. And if you can't connect the two of them, at this point, you should be looking at a provider that can. And why not take a look at AirVM? They are Canadian. They are from Ottawa. So that was my sales pitch for Josh. I tried, Josh. We'll see how that goes.
Much obliged.
Yeah. Well, listen, Josh, I really appreciate you sticking around and talking to us about this. It's very important. The future of the cloud and mobile, very important. One can't exist with the other. They can, but put the two together and boy, oh boy. Now all we're waiting for is that high-speed network access or wireless access from wherever we are in North America. And all of a sudden this becomes something that you cannot live without. And I'm pretty sure within the next little while we won't be living without it. I certainly use it every day.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Josh.
No problem. Thanks, Rob.
Speaking with Josh Vautour, who is the founder and CEO of AirVM. Go to airvm.com for more information. I appreciate, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, I appreciate the fact that you guys come back here all the time to listen or watch these sessions, these episodes, and I'd love some feedback from you. If you've got any, reach out at untether@gmail.com or rob@untether.tv. Find me anywhere online, reach out, ask a question. Let me know if there's a company that you want to see here, and I'd love to hear some feedback from this specific episode. So until next time, we'll see you on untether.tv. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Rob. Have a great day.